All right, folks, welcome to episode 72 of Biomassed, the William the Refrigerator Perry Memorial Edition. For those of you who are asking, that's an American football player from the 80s, about mid 80s, who was essentially a ginormous dude that ate a lot. So they refer to him as the Fridge from the Chicago Bears and the world champion team from 1985. No, I am not from Chicago, nor am I a Bears fan, but I'm old enough to remember that shit. So, and it gave me kind of a snappy lead into the episode tonight. So, without further ado, we're going to hop right in and do a couple intros and get started. We've got kind of an interesting show for you, and I don't mean interesting like I normally mean interesting, because that's one of my favorite words to describe the podcast, because I can't think of another adjective. It's a little bit. It's about that time where we start talking about some Eve stuff every once in a while, so we'll have a little bit of that discussion. A quick note about some things going on in Dust, because frankly, it's a little slow right now, and and CCP is pretty clammed up, which happens occasionally, and you can make of that what you will. And I think what we'll do towards about the last third of the show, we'll talk a little bit about a couple other games. There's a game in particular that I'm currently a member of the alpha, the closed alpha for, that's actually looking pretty good. That might be of interest to the Dust community in particular, at least folks that like those kind of games. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get some intros in, and we will start at the top of the list. So, Srizel, intro, please.
Yeah, I'm Srizel. I'm a former member of the CPM. I am a co-host here on the show. I am an editor on the blog. Sometimes I write things. That's me.
Cool. And Heracles.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Heracles Porsche. I am a YouTuber, altaholic, and one of the princes of the universe.
Okay, well done. I knew you were a big Queen fan at heart. So, Bait.
Hey everybody, what's up? I'm Aiwha Bait. I'm not a director at Incorruptibles, but I'm a member of the Incorruptibles Corporation, and I am a writer for the Biomassed blog. And Jay, I can't wait to hear how that Eve Legion Alpha is going for you.
Yeah, so I will. There's an E in the title, and I'm not. I will leave it at that for the moment. The initials are EC. So we will move on from there. Pokey.
Hey, I'm Pokey Draven from OSG Planetary Operations, and I'm a co-host here on Biomassed.
Okay, and we just had a CPM member decloak, Zaria.
Yeah, hi, I'm Zaria, and I'm a member of CPM2, and also I'm very, very tired, so if I babble or rumble or sound really weird, it's because of that.
Outstanding. Eve trading card game confirmed, and we're going to turn Dust into a laser tag event at some like Euro rave scene. It'll be sweet. Okay, so what we're going to kind of lead off with a little bit tonight is, again, something that we kind of do periodically. We talk a little bit about Eve, because there's a lot of crossovers in terms of where Dust came from, obviously, since they both come out of Crowd Control Productions, aka CCP. So there is an interesting thing that they have called the CSM Council for Cellular Management. I won't go into a whole lot of detail about that, but that was sort of the precursor that our CPM came from in Dust. And what I'd like to do is turn this over to Zell a little bit, and he'll talk a little bit about kind of what the CSM is in relation to the CPM. And that's all kind of video game politics and kind of random community activists coming together at a video game. It is kind of an interesting organic thing to take a look at, and there are a lot of games out there or game communities that have now similar things that are semi-formal or formally recognized community leaders that deal with the game company itself. So I think Eve was literally maybe the first that really took it widespread, though. So we'll talk a little bit about that and a little bit about the CSM minutes, the infamous yearly minutes from their meetings that they have in Iceland, which always has a couple of interesting nuggets of information. So I'm going to turn this over to Zell, and we will chime in as necessary, folks. Go ahead, Zell.
All right. So the big thing is the CSM is obviously a bit bigger, more established. It's been around for several years at this point. 10 in fact, since we're on CSM 10 right now. there's 14 members instead of our 7, and the big thing is that they have a much more direct access to the corporate CCP headquarters in Iceland. In the notion that twice a year they're actually flown to Iceland, or at least some of them are. Some stay back and join via Skype. But they have a very, very long, it's a 3-day summit where there's several meetings. Each meeting has up to like 4 to 8 devs at a time. And they have publicly documented minutes which go out to the entire community. And so they're kind of the CPM is kind of modeled after the CSM, but we as CPM1 we didn't have any summit at all officially, and we kind of had, there was one kind of period we had kind of like 3 meetings really close together, and it was kind of like a mini virtual summit, but and I kind of used that phrase once or twice, but it wasn't like an official formal summit. We didn't have formal minutes for it. But hopefully CPM2 will have some sort of virtual summit. I hope that they've been asking about that. Zaria? Okay, moving on.
I think it's something that a lot of people, the CPM wants that to happen. I'm sure there's, it's not something that's completely rejected on the CCP end either. It's more of a question of how, when, where, what, and also it's just time. Right now, now is not the time. So that's all I can say. I don't know. We want it to happen, but whether it will, I really don't know.
Okay, so the big thing is that over the last week there were the 3-day summit for Eve, and there were some interesting notes in the CSM notes. A lot of it is, of course, NDA. There are whole sessions that they simply say this contains a lot of NDA material. So here's a picture of a cat, and so there are several cat pictures throughout the summit minutes. Just to get it out of the way, before the podcast started, I did a quick find on all 3 days summit notes, and the word dust does not appear once. Just let you should know.
Yeah. Now, in the past, they would actually have a distinct block that would refer to Dust and Eve, and the linkages between the two, or Dust in particular. It's usually about an hour or 2 hours. And I think earlier in the game cycle, it was a little bit more deep. Mike Azariah, who's actually one of the CSM members, he's been on this show earlier. He mentioned that he would actually cover the Dust meetings. He said there was about 2 or 3 hours of them when they would, for the first couple of years Dust was around, in terms of direct interaction with the CSM about Dust. It's pretty fascinating, but obviously it's kind of dropped off the cliff, though.
And those session minutes were never released either.
Probably because it is a fairly well-known piece of information that the CSM found out about Eve Legion and the announcement and how it was going to go down before the CPM did. And in fact, when you talk to some of the CPM members, they would tell you that they found out only because it was mentioned in a joint meeting by the CSM, and CCP weren't exactly ready for the CPM to have heard about it.
So yeah, they get to talk to kind of some of the more senior people at CCP than I think CPM generally get to talk to. But there were a few interesting notes this year. One of the ones that I just caught on to a few minutes ago as I was reviewing the notes is that they have a section on third-party development, which is and the Crest API. And the big important note is that there's technically 2 APIs for Eve right now. There's an old legacy one, which is based on XML, and the shiny new Crest one, which is actually Dust itself uses Crest very heavily in working with Tranquility. And they're actually they don't want to add a lot to the old API, so Dust really isn't supported by the old API at all. But so we've always wanted more API support for Dust, but they're actually noting here. Fox4 said that some read and write access to contacts in Tranquility was enabled, but it caused issues, so it was pulled, and it's led to a re-evaluation of Crest for now until we can put more resources into it. So That's probably the most Dust related thing there, is that kind of the new API that would allow, potentially more interesting things to be built for Dust, third party wise. Probably isn't going to see a whole lot of development right now.
Okay. I think that's probably a pretty. I'm not going to say that was an obvious thing, but it's interesting when they frame it in those terms, because you see from the technical background like what the two games need to talk to each other, and how that's it's not being shelved, but there's definitely relooks at how it's being done.
The other thing that was talked about a lot was the new sovereignty system. Had quite a few different sessions, probably 3 or 4 sessions that either were specifically about the sovereignty system or ended up being about the sovereignty system because they were nullsec or power projection or capital balance sessions or whatever. And I guess the big drama is that, they replaced the old structure grind method with kind of like a hacking method, and then there are people who like that and people who don't like that, and obviously some of the bigger forces like Goons want to go back to the older method. There's kind of an anonymous quote with some drama claiming that Cyan from Goons kind of beat CCP devs into submission about going back to the old method or something closer to it.
I would offer a mild modifier to what you said. I don't think. I mean, the people that quote unquote like the new, what they're calling FozzySov, the dev his name's, they call it, it's CCP Fozzy, and so he's kind of the progenitor of this. The very few people like FozzySov. There are groups that have adapted to it, but I've seen fairly consistent, not quite uniform, but fairly consistent from all quarters distaste for the system. And it's kind of, and it ranges from on the mild end of, we didn't like we didn't like what we were doing, but you just exchanged one type of shitty system for a different kind of shitty system. So it was like a net no gain, no loss, all the way to the far end where you had like large alliances collapse and just basically kind of walk away. Maybe not quit the game, but just quit the whole nullsec kind of jazz, like the sovereignty stuff, which is sort of the flagship part of the sandbox, if you will, in terms of the whole like do what you want, make your own world kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, to be honest, I still do nothing but let my skill queue run. I think I have like 8 months of skill queue booked up right now, so I just don't even log into Eve. So I haven't actually played with the new mechanics at all. But so that's kind of one of the big things, is that for I think Siegel announced that for Citadels they're kind of going to move back to more of a structure health based system for those.
How do you log 8 months of skill book? I thought you could only do like a week or something.
It used to be only 24 hours, and then they fixed it. They made a change, I want to say, about 6 months ago, maybe?
No. It was a lot longer than that. It was a while ago.
Okay. Well, anyways,
winter. It was last winter, so it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, so
less than a year.
They made a change so that you can queue up pretty much as much stuff as you want in your skill queue.
Do you sorry to cut off. Do you have to keep paying for the subscription for it to keep processing?
Yes.
Or
yes.
Okay, I figured.
Yes. So I think my Eve subscription is like maybe like a sympathy charity donation to one of the saddest development companies I've ever dealt with. I don't know. But yeah, I do still pay for my Eve subscription. I do not play it. At some point, I'm sure I'll come back and be like, wow, look at all these skills that I will never ever use. Yeah, so I haven't tried the new mechanics to get back to where we were, and we'll just see where they go. I was kind of hoping I would hear more positive things, because I used to play nullsec type of stuff, and I found it incredibly boring most of the time, and I was hoping this would be a bit more exciting, perhaps. But the feedback coming in doesn't sound like it necessarily is, so...
Should have come to Malden Heath. Malden Heath was hopping.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Goons like to live in their space, and Malden Heath is not theirs, and they can't make it theirs.
Well, what can you say?
Yeah. So, and then just I guess kind of to move on, the other big topic that was covered in the minutes, and this was again with Cyan kind of leading the charge on this. Was Cyan was making a big point to try and um, answer the question of quote unquote why does the CSM exist? And this is of course potentially very interesting to us as well, as we tend to follow the CSM to a degree. You know, in our white paper revamp, I pushed to pick up a few changes that the CSM had made to their own white paper. But fundamentally, he was talking about moving more to kind of small groups of experts, it looks like, that could be consulted on certain topics, and in kind of a more enclosed area than the public forums, but not as enclosed as like the CSM internal chat. And this is probably somewhat similar to some of the conversations that we've had on the Dust side, just in terms of you've seen like Ritati opening up a group to talk about district whatever planetary conquest, and stuff like that, to kind of just funnel productive feedback. And that was a lot of what they were talking about as well. Cyan was kind of pushing more for, I think, CCP to have a part in selecting who could and couldn't be a part of that. And CCP actually was responding more in terms of wanting to ensure that CSM were actually managing themselves, their own groups, and picking people they wanted to work with.
It's like the section in the minutes is actually pretty telling, because this has kind of been brewing for a while. Long story short, and I think Zell did a very good job, by the way, of classifying this. Sort of the proposal was having a locked section of the forums, so to speak, and it was like by invite only, and effectively the monitors or the moderators of it would be the CSM. So, like there's a couple folks that do wormholes, really, like it's a certain part of Eve space that you can go into and manipulate. It's got some very, very specific and fairly complex set of rules that govern it, like physics rules, so to speak. So you have a couple of folks. There's one guy, Corbex in particular, that has always been the quote unquote wormhole guy on the CPM for the last 2 or 3 years. So the idea would be there would be a wormhole section, and he would nominate some people, or people could come to him and he could vet them, and then you could have like a community of interest, so to speak, in a locked forum that's very heavily moderated, like zero shit talk allowed, no trolling, like a very, very clean discussion on topics at hand. Now, the other part of this is that what Cyan and a couple of the others were pushing for was basically really stepping away from the NDA, like in terms of like writ large issues, because right now it's a pretty constrictive document. So what they were proposing is going to, I guess, almost like an NDA light, for lack of a better term, with that released more and more information out there to broader, components of the public, I think. And CCP Lilu, who kind of runs the program, was, at least the way I read the text in the minutes, is not a fan of the proposal that Cyan and some of the others laid out for them. But it is kind of interesting when you have the actual council itself asking, hey, what is our purpose? And we think that there needs to be a fundamental change in our structure and how we do business.
Yeah, and I mean, I do want to emphasize that any question of changing what the CSM or CPM get under NDA, if you lighten the NDA with the CSM or the CPM, all you're doing is ensuring that CCP tells the CSM or CPM less. The likelihood that, that means they're going to tell the public more, that's not exactly something I ever expect to happen from CCP. That is a tough fight every single... you have to fight for every foot of transparency that you can get, and I'm very wary of saying, well, we need to lighten the NDA, because that just means that CCP will inform the CSM and CPM of less, and we'll get blindsided by a lot more.
God forbid CCP ever tell us anything that's going on. It'd be the end of the fucking world.
Well, in all honesty, I mean, it kind of leads into a different set of discussions, just generally about how CCP does business. But there is, um, there are a lot of companies out there now, or at least there is a strong minority of companies out there recently that have really been going the opposite way. Because the way CCP is doing business is frankly not that much different than most other large game developing studios in terms of how they control information and control messaging. What is different is that they are or were at least on the forefront of the community player involvement in terms of the ongoing development process. I think they've frankly been surpassed by some other folks in terms of how they interact with the community in a lot of broad different ways. So it's interesting because I mean even when you have this is a good document because you can actually see elected player reps asking, hey, we need to loosen things up. And interestingly enough, the CCP folks in the room, Lilu, Falcon, and such particularly, were all about that. They were like, yes, we think we need to open things up sooner so that you can engage people with more agency with which to have these type of discussions and not be fearful of breaking the NDA. But that still ultimately didn't move the discussion. Again, we're reading pretty much off the paper here. We don't have that much in terms of inside information here, but there's still just a fundamental schism in terms of what the people that are on the CSM want it to be, or think how or want how they want it to work versus how CCP does, which is, like I said, it's an interesting turn of events if nothing else.
Yeah, I had something to go off of that, and then I lost it as soon as I said
So Dust?
Dust is a thing that exists.
Just dust.
But yeah, so that was kind of the meat of I think of the minutes, and probably the only other thing that I was really happy to see was a very small note from CCP Falcon, where he basically said he saw no reason why there shouldn't be people flying around with bright pink ships, and I was very very happy to hear that.
Of course you were.
Hey, Zaria.
Quaif everything.
I approve. Hey, Zaria.
Yes.
Zell. Did you did you check your in-game mail and Dust recently?
No.
You
Zell
should-
doesn't play dust.
Yeah, I know. You should hop on, Zell, and
I will do that actually.
before the podcast ends, you should
I-
hop on and check your in-game mail.
I might do that. So okay, so the other big thing that they that came out of Eve was actually not contained within the minutes themselves, but they were announced around the same time. Was that CCP Siegel made a big kind of vision update thing where she kind of reiterated the whole eventual building to people, new structures and new subsystem, and people building their own stargates to access new areas of space. I think Eve has plenty of space already, and I think that whole concept is silly, but that's my personal editorial. But the big change was that about a year and a few months ago, CCP stopped doing expansions for Eve. They moved to kind of a and this reminded me what I was gonna say about the whole thing is them being surpassed and kind of companies doing things in a new way. Is that CCP has always run as a very traditional company and a very kind of straightforward enterprise business, and not as much of the kind of the new age startup culture that's kind of arising in some software development circles. But they kind of did this trial about a year ago where they got rid of expansions and moved to like this 6-week release cycle, which is kind of an agile Scrum type of development process where you're just kind of going through and pushing code out on a regular basis, and just whenever it's ready, it goes. And they're actually going back on that a bit. They're still going to keep going with regular small releases, but they're going to start doing expansions again. The big difference being that they will no longer be on a 6-month interval like they used to be. That expansions will be quote unquote when they're ready.
I think that was kind of inevitable that they would have to move to a cycle like that, and it, as Zell kind of noted, there looks like they're still going to push out small things, kind of what we would refer to as like hot fix style releases. what they're trying to do ultimately with Eve in the long run is build Eve 2.0, but they're in this conundrum where they can't really kill the goose that's laying the golden eggs that's keeping their everything else moving and afloat. So they're trying to do it from the inside out, like literally rebuilding like large swaths of the game bit by bit while the game is running live, because they either can't or they won't do parallel multi-year development.
To steal a FanFest 2014 quote, they're trying to change the engine while the plane is in flight.
Yeah, pretty much. And so when you start getting into really, really large scale change, like the SOV system, for example, and that's really what's been absolutely eating them alive, you get into these tough positions where they're going to have to really fundamentally change how they do things. So I don't really think it's a big shocker. I don't necessarily think that they're finding that they were quote unquote all fucked up, but what it really is the things they have to do to change the game to, like I said, build the airplane in flight, so to speak. They're just so big. It's going to take effectively, old school expansion style releases to get to, just because the changes are so far reaching in terms of what they're trying to do.
See, on the more bitter perspective, the way I saw it was I saw that they already had a lot of small point releases before they had, your Retribution 1.1, 1.2, etc., that would have bug fixes and some graphics changes and sometimes a couple of small features. I think they were already doing kind of regular development to begin with. And I feel like when they stopped expansions, I thought it was a mistake, and I thought that it was going to cause them to no longer prioritize getting new features out and in a way that actually really keeps players coming back. And I personally do feel that's what happened, and I feel that they figured out that they have to go back to releases to do anything real, and I really think they're basically just undoing their change before. But the marketing layer to me is them saying, oh well, no, we're kind of doing the best of both worlds here. Where I really think they're just saying, whoops, we're undoing that.
Yeah,
but
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I interrupted you just because I had a pause. I'm sorry. But I do think that it is a good change, though, specifically that they used to have this 6-month expansion cycle, which meant they had to pick what their expansion was going to be, and they had a hard date, give or take a few weeks, that they had to shove that content out at whatever state they were able to get it to. And that's what was most responsible for the fact that all of Eve's previous Jesus features were horribly incomplete. I mean, once they booked Incarna as Incarna, they had to ship it, even though it was missing, well, all of it. And so I do like that they're moving the big expansions part to a when we're ready system, because that means they will actually be able to complete features before they ship them.
Yeah, now and conceptually, I think Zell and I see this, like the technical aspects of it fairly similar. I have a slightly different take on it. I don't think it was a mistake for them to do what they did to moving to the agile system that they went to, which is actually it's not just an adjective descriptor word. It's actually a style, a developmental style, or model rather. I think it was fine. I think the issue is that also predisposes that the scope of what you're trying to change or what you're trying to work on is, kind of capped, so to speak. Because the reality is, to do these big changes, you really do need, 6-9 months worth of work probably to actually pull them off appropriately, and it occupies large stretches of man hours that they have to deal with. So, like I said, I don't think it's a mistake. I just think the stuff they're working on is of a scope that they really don't have another choice to do it. And to be fair, there's kind of some booyah that you can throw out there when you have an expansion. There's a little bit of pop that you can give to the community.
They've had no ability to market with 6-week releases.
That's true now, but in all fairness, though, the community was also generally really, really freaking happy that they were getting some change every 6 weeks instead of waiting half a year.
But the community numbers aren't supporting that. I mean, player count has just kept falling throughout this no expansion
You
thing.
mean like for the last 5 years it's been falling? Sure.
It hasn't really been falling for 5 years.
Oh yeah, it has.
But I mean, you got a spike with every expansion release, and that's the same way WoW gets. The WoW gets like 5 million spike for like a month. But they haven't had any. People are like, oh, those are the changes for the last 6 weeks. No reason to whatever, and people just don't come back.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
And there haven't been any fancy videos or anything really. I mean, there's been the scope stuff, but
Well, I mean, ultimately, what they're fighting over on the east side is that there are there are now competing games, like legitimate competitors for the market share that they get after. And even at its heyday, Eve was still a relatively small game compared to something like WoW. So, it's a sign of the times. I mean, they're smart enough to realize they need to change some things, and they're trying, I think. But whether they can pull it off or not, we'll probably see in the next couple of years. Okay, so I think we've whipped up on that dead horse for a minute, and I think we can kind of transition on. Does anybody have anything Dust related that they wanted to chat about?
I think the event's going pretty good.
By going good, can you define that? As in, it's still ongoing, or that it's going good for you, or do you think people are generally happy with it?
There's an event. I mean, that's pretty much. I mean, that's already kind of
I'm saying I'm
Positive.
relatively happy with it. I know it was not like they did not put like the most whatever intense thought process into it compared to the other events, but I think they just kind of stimulated a little something, getting something out there. I had very good games towards the beginning of the week just because people, I had fuller games, people pushing for wins, and it was just, games on the whole were a lot more stimulating towards the start of the week just because you did have people on and pushing for those wins and, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably fair. I mean, I did a very cursory look at the forums, which is always kind of dangerous to do, frankly. You see a lot of people are during the whole they're struggling to get to the wins because of any number of different reasons that we've talked about in the last couple 3 months. Issues with kind of the matchmaking, which is a very broad statement, and it's very hard to quantify, frankly. In terms of like, hey, I can only do so much by myself, but the people I'm getting put in with or the squad gets put in with equals something.
Are these people
desirable.
going in fire teams and squatting up, or are they just solo queuing?
Dude, I have no fucking clue. But I mean, like I said, I have not seen anybody.
Oh, speaking of people who got upset on the forums, I made somebody rage quit. Dust.
From Dust?
And
Yeah.
I'm sure that's incredibly
Congratulations.
healthy for the game too.
It was the forum poster's name is Count Crotula, and have you seen his post?
You know who that is,
his
right?
Bullshit 150.
No,
wins in three matches.
who is that?
That dude ain't quitting Dust. He's only got like 55 fucking alts, man.
It's his post is called "It's Almost as If People Want Dust to Die." Anyway, about halfway through the post, he says he accused me of head glitching straight away. He says, "New boobs, whoever's alt you are, F you, just F you, head glitching straight away." And that's my alt. New boob is my alt. So I if Count Crotula leaves the game, I guess I'm gonna have to take responsibility for that.
These character names are just. I mean,
Amazing.
I'm impressed.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you.
Going back to the event real quick, I can report from Corporation that some of our guys have obtained the skin for the 30 out of 30 wins. I think about one member. Another one's halfway through, and CEO's at like I think 10 out of 30 wins. So yeah, I personally have logged about 6 out of 30 wins, I think. Of course, I haven't played much recently, but games have been described to me as Officer, Proto Stomp, or nothing. So, stomps. Some good games though mixed in. Very pleased with those games, obviously, but overall the mood that I've gotten, at least, and other corp mates have gotten, has just been stomps all around.
Yeah, I've
Well,
been
I
running
mean,
pretty much only proto, not really officer, but pretty much only proto because I figured, well, I'm getting something good for my wins this week, so time to spend.
I guess, yeah. I've also been told that if you do run proto, then you do okay, unless you have like mad skills, which no one in corporation has mad skills, but yeah.
Well, the bonus arm
during
doesn't hurt.
this, I haven't played. I played every day, but only for like an hour or 2 hours at a time. I've been noticing a very, very discouraging trend of people giving up even easier than before. And I'm sure there's some people who are just going, fuck this, I'm not going to win this battle, so I'm going to leave and try in another battle. But acquisition that ends with 15 versus 3, it's just, it's awful.
I've
So
been
that's like,
noticing that more towards like the end of the week. Like at the beginning of the week, I wasn't seeing that, but yeah, it's more back to the old formula. Like maybe today I started noticing a bit of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've noticed some of that too,
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get away from that right now.
or ever.
Well, what's interesting is even before you had a reward tied to like raw number of victories, you were still seeing it a lot. I think. I think as far back as probably 2 or 3 months ago, it was the issue of imbalanced games was in terms of like player count per side kind of thing. That is not new, and I hate to say it, but when you're whatever your total population in the game is, that's a huge factor in all of these constructs. Um, and for every person like Denny Fleetfoot that wants to trot their little ass out and then tell people that there's a gazillion people playing Dust, just buy more ore and it'll be all okay. I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but like I can tell when the machine doesn't have enough input to produce the output that you desire, and there is no small part of that going on, I suspect. And I also liken it unto the well, it's a bit of a stretch, but this all kind of reminds me like the continued sort of glossing over of the numbers about the PS3 industry at large. Like that bullshit during the CPM elections. 7,000 votes cast and all that drama shit. That's ridiculous. So I mean, I don't know. I do think that they have some issues that they're not going to be able to solve. I don't care how they tweak matchmaking. I don't care what they do with it, because of the size of the player base. That is probably something that they're not going to be able to generate until they come up with something dramatically different than what they're doing now.
Or put us on PS4. Maybe. I can dream.
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate thing is, a lot of people that would be interested in supporting them, they've burned as not a community, like a game community, but like a customer base. They've like burned so many people at this point that, it's not good business acumen on display when you look at how they've executed some of their work lately, or well, in the last few years anyway.
You just keep going back to the downer stuff, Jason.
Okay, name me a positive thing going on in Dust. Go.
My videos.
Name me
They're
a positive
sexy.
thing that more than 5 people not named your mom and brothers and sisters watch.
That's cold.
No,
That
it's okay.
That was really cruel, man.
I'm a big boy. I can take the trolling.
Dude, it's like 10:55 here. I'm an old man. It's past my bedtime. You got to be joking me.
It's still, it's still a game with a good social setup.
Fucking A, man. Social setup in Dust is one of the best in any game that I've played and played as religiously as I do this game. Fucking wonderful. I've met more people in this game than.
Well, yeah, it's the reason why
anywhere.
a majority of the people any of us play with still play the game or played as long as they did was because of the community and the people you met and the people you played with. It's not the game. I mean, it's the
No.
framework.
The
It's
game's shit, man. It's the Zaria's right, man. It's the
well, I
people.
can't say that because
Well,
obviously I can't say that.
maybe it's
But
a
I mean,
little
you
bit
know what I
strong,
mean.
but you know, it could be better. It could be a hell of a lot better. But
No, yeah, trust me,
it's the people, man.
I've said that for years that it's actually very much like Eve. Like if you look at like Eve, the actual video game part of Eve, it it it's pretty shitty. You know, well,
Look, I know Dust has got boils and blisters and broken pieces of engine and all kinds of things wrong with it, but
No
I still
pieces of
think
engine.
I still think we could make this game a little more playable if we keep working on tweaking the numbers, this, that, and the other thing. I think we can have squeeze an ounce or two more fun out of it.
This is
See,
like
some of it.
early pokey level optimism right here.
Yeah, I'm actually dipped below that now. I mean, let's be honest here. The game is on life support. I mean, you can tweak things how you want, but it's literally limping along. And I mean, sure, you get some cool features, but I mean, it's mostly cleaning up the wrapper and making things look pretty and whatnot, and that's fine. But I mean, like I was saying in the Skype channel earlier, I said, you can take a car and redo the exterior and stick the old engine in it. It's still going to run like a clunker. You can tweak it and twist it around, but it's not make it a lot better. It's just going to kind of keep limping along like it always have, regardless of how pretty it is. I mean, if you really want to see some substantial change, you got to rip that engine apart and fix the problems with it or replace it altogether. And that's what really needs to happen right now, because currently we are limping along. It's on life
All
support.
right, I think we've just.
And-
Can we just?
Hey,
We've.
Can we just
enough,
not interrupt me?
enough
That would be-
negativity.
No, you could stop interrupting me. That'd be
It's not
swell.
even.
Go ahead, Bait.
It's not even a numbers game. In my mind, sure, there's some shit that's like, it could be fixed with numbers, but I just want to be able to play a match, right, where I don't lag like shit on a map or an installation. I just want that.
Exactly.
I don't care about the stuff that's this is OP, buff it, nerf it, take it out of the game. I don't care about that shit. And a lot of people in the community, I feel, don't care about that shit either. I just want to be able to enjoy a game, not have to go into a skirmish and queue up on the lag facility and be like, okay, I'm gonna stay at Delta, hope people come, and kill tanks. That's not fun. I mean, AV is fun, but I don't want to do that every time I get on that installation or that socket. I want to go into the city and do shit. Yeah.
No, I hear you. I mean, it's like I don't care how perfectly balanced my rifle is if I can only enjoy it once every couple seconds because the frame rate is so bad. I mean, it's gotten to a point where it's so bad. It's like I'm losing enjoyability from the game because it just simply does not perform the way it should. And unfortunately, there's lots of other games coming out which they work better because they're on new systems. They aren't on life support. They're being actively developed, and we need that right now, and we just aren't getting it. And if something happens, I sure as hell hope it happens soon.
Okay, all right. So now we have to do the compliment sandwich. So where if you say bad stuff, you have to follow it up with something good. So, all right, Heracles, go ahead. Give me some positive shit.
Oh, damn it! You guys just brought me all the way down, and yeah, I don't know. Positive shit. I made fun videos where I got everybody in Death Shroud skins, and we goofed off, and yeah.
Okay. No.
I know. Look, I know this game is trash, but sometimes you can have fun in the trash. Like that character. Like who is it? Oscar. Who's that little green dude in the trash bin?
Oscar
Grouch.
the Grouch.
Oscar the Grouch. You just have to have that attitude, but not grouchy. Just have fun. Just have fun in the trash. You have to have that attitude.
Episode title: Fun in the Trash.
Oh God. No. Well, I think there's a point there. I don't disagree with you, and I think anybody in here probably would agree with you, Heracles. The flip side though of that is at some point you really want to play like some for realsies games though, and that's the kind of that is kind of the ugly part. And what you guys did say in terms of the social framework that the game is allowed to grow, it is frankly pretty special. I totally don't doubt that at all. That being said, that's one of for me personally, for somebody who spent a fair amount of time building different facets of the community over the last several years, That's one of the really frustrating parts for me is that I think there's a lot of players that would really, really support a game that was delivered as described by CCP to most of us that got in the game and stuck with it for several years. I mean, you would have people that would like rebuild and build and progress like swaths of the gaming community if they would like kind of do anything, you know, but they're not. So that's okay. And like I said, it's not about being a Debbie Downer. It's just it kind of is what it is. You know, it's not.
If you want to grab people and go to some random edge of the map and drink and sing and curse and do other stuff, then Dust is still a great game for that.
Yeah, but so is a whole hell of a lot of other games.
Yeah, but they're big maps, and like we said, great social system.
Yeah, see, that's something special about Dust is being able to do that. It's like you're dicking around and having fun in a bad game, and you know it's been the whole time. The whole time that you've queued into this factional battle and you're not helping your team, and you've loaded LAVs down with REs, and you're trying to run over fellow courtmates, or start a fight club in the corner of a map and beat the shit out of courtmates. That's when the game becomes fun. It's those corners, man.
Yeah, but again, I'm hearing it all. I'm just like none of that really gets through the fucking 2 or 3 levels of reality that I have in between those statements and me. But
oh, you're living in reality?
No
No,
fun.
you
Fuck
can't
reality.
do that if you want to
Be
have fun
like-
with Dust.
Be like fucking Plato, man. Fuck reality.
Yeah.
Join the dark side.
yeah, and he was forced to drink fucking hemlock. Let me know how that works out for you.
No, wrong philosopher.
Same thing. Some old Greek dude. I don't give a fuck.
Come join us one day, Jay. You, myself, Heracles, will squad up. We'll dick around, and it will change your outlook.
I don't think you realize how. No, I'm done with that. Okay, so let me see. Do we have any other news that we wanted to pitch out for what we've got going on in terms of our CCP product?
I don't know. We filled a good 50 minutes here, man.
Yeah, I know we were like stretching that shit out pretty good. I thought I was pretty proud of that actually.
I did see on the forums, or I think Ripley was telling me about it. I guess Aeon has an HP thread up somewhere. I haven't looked at it and get a link for it. Has anybody else seen that? I don't know where it's floating around.
Aeon's thread, I saw it, but it kind of divulged into a shitstorm, and I just kind of lost interest in watching people scream at each other.
Oh, was that thread? Okay.
I think it's the same one we're talking about.
Yeah, maybe I did see some of that. Then if that's the case, and because that was the one that Breakin' and Aeon.
Yeah. And
I
people
did
started
see that.
screaming at each other, and I just like I don't have enough free time to deal with this, so I kind of disengaged. But I did see it. It's good to see them working on that sort of thing. It's just the feedback in the community is very toxic about it right now.
Kudos to them for trying.
How do you mean right now? Don't you mean generally speaking?
Well, yeah, all the time. But again, I'm trying to be this positive, upbeat person that I'm known to be, despite my grievances.
Bonus squad.
Okay, all right. So let's
We
move
all
on
thought we all thought it would take one CPM term to make Pokey bitter. It just took losing 2 CPM elections to make
It does sting. I'll admit it. But
Well-
yeah, I'm still
well-
here, right?
Zaria, as you're being so nice to Pokey, I felt the need to deliver the message Cross says to tell you that you're a ferret.
Okay.
Ferrets are cool. We can be upbeat about ferrets.
I mean, I just, I do what Cross tells me to do, and he told me to tell you that, you're a ferret, so.
Doing what Cross tells you to do. That's how I got through my CPM term. So yeah.
Ferrets are cool.
No,
That is
they're
true.
really not. No.
Okay.
I had a pet ferret named Fuzzy growing up. I can vouch for the
I'm
coolness
sorry,
of ferrets.
I apologize
we
for
used
this.
to
devolving.
when I was a lot younger. We had a pet ferret that was named Tribble, like
Aw,
the Tribbles in Star Trek.
cute.
Ferrets smell awful. Or is
They
that
only
See,
smell.
here's
they
the thing,
only
though.
smell
I
awful
have,
if you
like-
do not give them a bath regular.
Okay, because
I was like born with almost no sense of smell, so that's probably why I love ferrets.
Hey,
Okay.
my brother.
Yeah, they just have to. They just need to be bathed on a regular basis. They're
They don't do that shit themselves. See, this is
No.
why I like cats. I don't ever have to bait the damn cat. I just gotta watch it lick its balls, and it's great.
that's more
Shit,
than I
shit.
needed to know.
Dude's like self-sufficient. It's wonderful.
I really should have bathed my ferret more.
Okay, so does Zaria want to do the CPM update? If there's anything to update us before she passes out?
No, I think this discussion about, bathing ferrets is much more relevant and interesting.
I'm cracking up here. Bathing ferrets.
Today I learned.
Okay, on that note,
Yeah.
I think we're going to go ahead and transition to kind of the last segment for the show, since clearly we're coming off the rails on this one. So, and by the way, boys and girls, if you're ever trying to run a podcast, this is what happens when you have a very specialized podcast and there's nothing special going on in that specialized field. You really get to grope around for some topics and stuff. So, I do have a little bit of kind of neat news. I am in a closed alpha for a game called Eternal Crusade. We've mentioned it on the show before, and you can easily look it up and get your Google foo on under Eternal Crusade. And they also a couple things interesting. It's all about the Warhammer 40K universe. It is a kind of an MMO shooter style game. It is not a first person shooter. It is a third person shooter. So it's a little bit different kind of genre, but it is definitely all about Warhammer 40K. So if you have any interest in that sort of IP, what I can tell you is that you will probably enjoy this game to a degree. I have been involved with Eternal Crusade for kind of a while, off and on. Crossadoo is as well, by the way. I don't think he's not in the alpha though. It is actually pretty cool, and I will offer that there is an NDA that we're all under. But the interesting thing about how the studio that's building it, they do business. They have a live stream every week, basically, where they do live gameplay, like current dev footage, like literally devs playing right there during the live feed on Twitch. And then they do Q&A from the fans. So what I can talk about is pretty much, I can compare and contrast a little bit about what you see on those live streams. If you can find them on YouTube all day long. And I think they put one out this Friday, by the way. There's tons of them. They have a very, very open development model in terms of what they do. There's very little that they don't put out on the Twitch stream or talk about directly in the Q&As, either in the public forums or like I said, on the stream. So what I can tell you is this. It is a third-person shooter, not a first-person shooter, so that automatically turns a lot of people off. Now, that being said, this is a very well-executed one. It is in the closed alpha state, and without going into a whole lot of detail, I can offer that I was very surprised at how crisp the game felt, even though it's a closed alpha. Pretty much what you see on the Twitch streams is very indicative of the style of gameplay. It's fairly fast moving. It's got it is not a Call of Duty sort of grinder. It is not like a bullet fest where your KDR is like 0. It's got actually pretty extended time to kill, and the different classes that they use, there's like multiple races, and the different classes they use actually blend pretty well, I would say. And really what you're dealing with is primarily kind of the Space Marine style, power armored kind of protagonist sort of thing, and then their opposite number, the antagonist. They've got some other races that are coming out at some point, and there's a variety of other classes that they have to fill out. But from what I've seen in terms of just the straight up combat style mechanics, it's actually pretty crisp. Oh, sorry. The combat mechanics are actually really crisp. I tended to.
And you cut out again.
Okay, well, I don't know if I'm transmitting or not. So
I'm hearing you, so I think it's just cutting out for him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So the mechanics themselves are pretty good. The visuals are really good. They're still continuing to polish them. So it's all of the things. If you're into the 40K universe, a lot of homages to that IP. And they do have in terms of the story behind the game, there's actually quite a few the big known characters and stuff like that are a part and parcel to the game. So a lot of vehicle combat, actually surprisingly good vehicle combat. Interesting thing, the tanks that they have in there, you can do one thing at a time. So you can drive it, or you can shoot the big gun, or you can shoot the little guns. So however many people you put in the tank, that's how effective the tank is in combat. And by the way, if you have them fully loaded, they'll murder some shit.
That would be exactly what I've talked about wanting dust tanks to do.
So I was
Forever.
waiting for you. I was waiting for somebody to mention that.
I
This
just-
is pretty
I
much
just-
why I keyed it up.
Yeah. That's been my big sticking point on these tanks forever, is that you should not be able to drive and shoot and everything all at once.
So, okay, here's an interesting factoid. The EP, or the executive producer, if you will, for this game is a former CCP employee that was involved in Dust. Way long time ago, like when it was first still getting generated.
Before Gian, right?
Yeah, before him. His name's Nathan Richardson. I think he was CCP over so if I said his name right.
Yeah, I think that's right. But nobody really had heard of him
not a lot of
before
people
that, so.
would recognize that. But he also brought over several other, like a handful of other CCP guys. It's how devs work. It's kind of like the construction or engineering business. You hire people that you know for the job that you're on. And he brought over more than a few Eve folks here over the last year, or 8 months rather. So there are clearly some areas in this where you can be like, wow, this looks like Dust, but there will be points in I can't really mention them specifically, but there are certain points about the game where you're like, this looks like something that you wish that they would have done in Dust when they were designing the game. Mostly because the guy who's helping put it together is like, I've done this before. I've seen a game strikingly kind of like this, or at least similar. And you know what? That thing over there, that's probably not going to work. Let's do it this way. There's a few pictures in there, or few little pieces where you can clearly pick up that, wow, that's a pretty smart idea that they should have done elsewhere. So it is kind of interesting. It's not like I'm not classifying this as a guy trying to execute a Dust 514 redo. It not even close. It's very different games, but you can kind of tell that there were some lessons learned, perhaps, particularly when you track back where the executive producer came from. So just an interesting little point there. But like I said, it looks good for a closed alpha. There are some bugs, as you can expect. There's some balance issues here and there, but it looks good. It plays, like I said, surprisingly well. So if you're looking for a game to kind of keep on the radar screen, Eternal Crusade, highly recommended. Behavior Entertainment is pretty good, and they are. I think they are definitely on the mark so far with this game. So we'll see how it turns out.
So, Ryan, did you check your mail yet?
I did. My mail was amazeballs.
Got him.
That plays well on radio, by the way.
They got 6, I think it was 11 people to mail me just the word amazeballs and nothing else.
Very well then. Okay, so unless anybody has any saved rounds that they want to throw out there, I'm going to recommend that we move on to shout outs and sort of bring this one down to the earth. What do you guys think? Sold. Okay. Zell, shout outs, brother.
I'm giving my shout out to CCP Falcon for being the first dev on the record to maybe be indicating that my Hello Kitty Scorpion may exist someday.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Bait.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to the Incorruptibles Corporation. Love playing with you guys. Thank you. Shout out to my science teacher for looking back over my science test after many requests from myself. Ended up bringing up my grade in both the test and the class overall, which is always good. Let's see what else. Oh, shout out to the fucking weather for raining almost all week here in Northeast Florida. It was amazing.
Okay. All right, Pokey. Or correction, Heracles, sorry.
Shout out to Darth and everyone who came to the channel Go Power Rangers to join my Death Shroud squad and be in my Princes of the Universe video.
Okie dokie. And Pokey.
Jay, you're just loving these shoutouts this week, aren't you? Hello Kitty and Go Power Rangers.
We're a mature bunch here. Sophisticated taste.
not quite. I'll give a shout out to Zaria for coming onto the show, despite not getting a chance to do what she came here for, which is a CPM update. But we do appreciate her staying up and being with us, because it is good to have a CPM presence on the show. So thank you, Zaria.
Alrighty then. Let's see. So quick shout outs. I'll throw one out to Behavior Entertainment. I am enjoying Eternal Crusade. It's pretty good. And in case you're wondering what else Behavior Entertainment does, they've made Halo Waypoint, Shadows of Mordor, Wolfenstein New Order, Far Cry 3, and they are also the folks helping produce Star Citizen. Don't let that fool you. This is probably actually going to be built and turn out well. Other than that, I think that's the host of my shout outs so far. Actually, I do want to give a quick shout out to Tybee Island. It's like a pretty cool little like pseudo vacation spot or a kind of like laid back community they went to this weekend. Pretty cool. Had a nice rum and coke there. It was pretty good to pull up on a boat and see that place. So I think that just about does it for episode 72 of the William the Refrigerator Perry Memorial episode of Biomassed. So folks, good night and good luck.